Welcome to Cliff on Cars and Things. I'm Cliff. Good afternoon. Welcome to Cliff on Cars. I'm Cliff. It's Easter weekend. It's Monday today. It's a public holiday here in South Africa. So I'm at home. You join me in my garage, and next to me is my B7 RS4. Over here is a file. This file contains all the records of this car since I've owned it. So what I've done is I've taken this file and I've made some notes of all the invoices, and I've just jotted them on my phone so that I don't have to page through the file when I'm talking to you, and we just make this go a bit quicker. Let me introduce to you my self-appointed assistant, Imani, who's going to hand you my phone.
Like and subscribe.
Thank you, Imani. Okay, so let's move that out of the way. Put it on the floor here. Let me open my phone, get to my notes, and we can begin. Okay, so I bought this car 26th of October 2020 in Cape Town. I flew down there, did the deal, kept the car for 2 days, drove around Cape Town, took it back to the dealer, made some notes on what I'd like them to fix in the car before I take final delivery. It's a 2007, I bought it in 2020, so it's a used car. It's a pre-owned vehicle that I got, all right? When I got this vehicle, it was on 149,000 kilometers. It's now sitting at 211,000 kilometers. So I've done 62,000 kilometers in this car. I've driven this car in one drive, easy, almost 3,000 kilometers, one drive. So I've driven it countless of times from here to Durban. That's a 700 kilometers one way. So if you talk B7 Rs4 4.2 Quattro, I spent enough time on this car to tell you what this vehicle can do, what it can't do, whether it's a good vehicle, whether it's not a good vehicle. All right? So after I left the car in Cape Town, a month later, I was taking holiday in Knysna, which is closer to Cape Town than where I live. Much, much closer. The dealership then arranged with half-star transport to ship the car to Knysna, where I was. So I met the car in Knysna. I was on holiday for a week. I kept the car there. And first problem that arose was leaking ATF, which would go on the exhaust and cause smoke. I found the dealer. They sent me to a place in George. I drove up to George, which is right next to Knysna. It was a exhaust shop, and obviously they couldn't sort out the problem. I think maybe they misunderstood me when I said exhaust, ATF leaking on the exhaust. But anyway, I drove the car all the way back home. That's over 1,000 kilometers, you know, easy. And I didn't really have any struggles. I took it straight to the dealership when I got here. They went into the car bumper to bumper, and they made their own list of what things need to be sorted out in the vehicle. When I bought the car, it had a warranty, and warranty sorted out a lot of those things. But let me go through the list of what's been repaired on this car since I've owned it 2020 to now 2024. First thing when I arrived, the dealership, I told them the car's got a vibration, and they then told me, no, it's your magrums. They're not straight, they're bent. 3 of them were bent. I had to send all 4 of them in for full refurbishment. All right? And then over the years, this is what has been done. Speed sensor, alternator, gearbox repair, not the internals of the gearbox. It was more around the gearbox bolts and that kind of stuff. It had 2 engine mountings, driver seat cable. Driver seat just got stuck one day. I was in the car wash. So it had to go in for a new cable at the dealers. Soft top hydraulic pump, was driving around someplace, opened the top, and it got stuck halfway, wouldn't close, wouldn't open. From the dealer, luckily, they told me about a secret tool that's hidden on the side of the dash. You actually open up the dash, take that tool, pull the center of the rear seat backing down, and inside there you put the tool in and twist, and it releases the soft top and you can close it. So thank you, Audi. That tool came in handy. So I've had to use it once, and the dealer then replaced the hydraulic pump for the soft top. It's got new hydraulic bulbs. However, the agents have told me that I need to buy 2 new headlights because my Xenons are not shining as they should anymore. And I need new headlights completely because the control unit that controls the Xenons to shine bright, that's all damaged, and of course it's perished, and it's inside the headlight, and you need to replace the entire headlight. Not a cheap fix. It's got a new clutch kit. Now, shocks. If you know anything about a B7 RS4, you know that it runs an hydraulic shock system. That's the factory setting. To replace those hydraulic shocks is so expensive. It's economically unviable. You're better off selling your car than paying the dealer for the 4 new shocks. So I did what most people you see do if you go on the internet. They take out the OEM shocks out and they put coilovers. So I've gone for that. I've got coilovers with Bilstein shocks on them. Ride quality, OEM shock setup, 0 to 80 k's an hour, subtle, can handle the bumps, can take the bumps very nicely. Coilovers cannot take the bumps very well from 0 to 80 k's an hour. 80 k's an hour upwards, these coilovers shine. They are amazing. On the freeway, I mean the handling, on the switchback roads, it's unbelievable what these coilovers can do. And they really are better than the hydraulic setup when you push the car to the limit. 62,000 kilometers. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Because I do hammer my RS4. It hasn't been driven with kitted gloves. I drive this car, I roll the gears, because if you want to drive an RS4, you need to get into the revs, right? Proof of that, my entire front bumper is sandblasted. I mean, look at that on the bonnet, look at all that, look at that down there, that's all sandblasted. That tells you that this car has had 62,000 kilometers of spirited driving. Let's move on the list. Tie rod ends have been changed. Rear brake pads I've done once. Rack hands have been changed. It's had 1 brake fluid service. Outer CV joints have been changed. The driver's side window switch, the switch that you use to open the windows in the car on the driver's side, I've changed that. It was not faulty. It's just that the pad itself was worn out and it just looked tacky. So I replaced that. It's got a new V-belt. Front brake pads I've changed twice at 62,000 kilometers, most of which has been some hard driving. I've only changed the brake pads twice. So I've got to say that the B7 RS4 is not so heavy on its brake pads. It's not so heavy on its tires. It doesn't demolish tires like an M3 or a C63. It really doesn't go through its tires that quickly. And its brake pads last much, much longer. Let's move on. So I parked the car. I decided I'm driving the car too much, let me park it. So I parked it off for a while. Then I realized when I looked under the car by the tire, I saw it's got liquid. And I put my finger and I smelled it. It was fuel. Sent the car to the dealer and they told me that the fuel tank sender was a problem. So they replaced that to stop the leaking. So you park the car too long, you got problems. Yeah, it's a catch-22 situation. You can't park the car too long because you develop it. And that's happened before it's RS4. You park it too long and then just something happens. And then if you better off actually driving the car than just parking it off for too long. Control arm pushers, changed. Control arms themselves, changed. It's had a couple of oil leaks from parking. And those have had to be sorted out. If you park the car too long, it develops oil leaks. Twice I've had incidences where I've been out and the car wouldn't start. First time I was in a town called Amersfoort. I got to a filling station. Time to leave. Push the starter button. Nothing. Good thing the B7 Rs4 only came in manual. And guys pushed me and I kick-started the car. Took it to the dealer and they replaced some relays, apparently, which are somewhere in the footwell. Second time, filling station as well. Pulled in, filled up, car wouldn't start. Got the guys to push me, kick-started the car. It went to the agents and the dealers told me it's wiring. So they sorted out the wiring for the starter. So luckily, I haven't had to change the starter motor. However, I realized lately that when you push the start button, it's taking longer to start than usual. So that's a cause for concern. I don't know why it's doing that. I've had the driver's seat cover sorted out, that came loose. Tires. So I've been running Pirelli P0s in the car. I've gone through 2 sets of Pirelli P0s. I've replaced 2 Pirellis because of potholes. The roads in South Africa are just getting bad. Once you go off the freeways onto back roads and you're just trying to get some good driving, you're bound to hit a pothole. And the funny thing is that the rims of the RS4 are very soft. They cannot take a pothole. They just can't take a pothole. You come at not even a very big pothole. That's it. It's gone. So as it stands right now, all my wheels, all my rims need to go in for refurbishing. I've thought about getting an aftermarket rim to put on this car, but which rim looks better on the B7 than the OEM? This OEM wheel just works on this car. It's just perfect for it. So yeah, we'll have to see about that. All right. Another thing I've had to replace is this backing, this number plate backing that goes over here. The story is, I drove to Johannesburg, parked my car at the airport, flew down to the coast to Durban for work, came back a day later, took my car from the undercover parking at the Johannesburg International Airport or Tambo Airport, drove out the airport, and immediately I was pulled over by the Metro Police. And I was wondering, why is he pulling me over? With my belt on, I've just come out of the airport, I'm not speeding. And he told me, "Look, you've got no number plate." I was like, "What? No number plate?" I got out the car, went to the front, no number plate. So what happened is somebody took off the entire backing with my number plate while the car was parked at the airport. Well, I could only get one from the dealer. I checked on the internet, but I couldn't find one with the park sensor on it, the hole for the park sensor. So I got one from the agents, and I actually like this one because it's got a gloss finishing. The one I had before was matte, and this one is gloss, and I like it a lot. It's quite cool. So yeah, this is my long-term experience with my B7 RS4. I got it in 2020 October, like I said. It's now 2024, April Fool's Day. And I've really enjoyed owning this car and driving this car. And I will tell you that nothing on the RS4 is cheap, especially in South Africa, because every time you're looking for something, you have to go to the dealer, every single time. You cannot pull into a workshop and ask people to work on this car for you, because honest guys will tell you, we'll not work on this car. You can even pull into a shop where guys are working on VWs. They won't touch your RS4. So all work done on this car has been at my local dealership, that's out in Bombela. And Wynand Oosthuizen is the technician that's worked on this car. He's the only one who's ever worked on this car since I've had it. And yeah, this car's given me a lot of joys. It's cost me a lot of money to keep it running. But it being a pre-owned car, I think I've replaced things which were going to go anyway. Right? And that is just preventative maintenance, because the B7 RS4 is just reliable. It's reliability all the way. This 4.2 doesn't skip a beat. This car, it doesn't matter day or night, it just never goes wrong. I've driven this car in so many different conditions, in hot conditions, cold conditions. I've driven in snow with this car. Once I was down in KwaZulu-Natal, passing Drakensberg side, it was snowing. The Quattro is just perfect. When it's raining, by the way, and I tell you, and I'm driving on the freeway, I mean, I'm passing those M3s, I'm passing those AMGs. You know, I can run on wet roads. The AMG and the M-Powers cannot run on wet roads like this B7 RS4 can run. The quattro system is just perfect, right? And I mean, besides all of the sandblasting that you see here on my bumper, and you see it over there, the rest of the paintwork is perfect. I have replaced the windscreen that was done by insurance. Obviously, 62,000 kilometers, you are going to get some chips that will develop into a crack. But the car, I think, is due for a bit of TLC to have all the sandblasting sorted out. There's a piece missing here from the bumper. It's sort of like a polished, it looks just like that, you know, and it goes across over there. Hit something and that took it off. And yeah, but I think that the car now just needs a little bit of love, detailing, paint correction, new headlights, like I had mentioned before. And I once drove through this town called Newcastle, right? And it was flooded. The town was actually flooded. And some guy was telling me, but I had my top down and my music blasting, and some guy was telling me, and I only realized after I've gone through that flood what he was actually saying to me, warning me not to go in that direction. I mean, I drove in that flood. That water was easily this high. I'm pretty sure my number plate was under the water. When I drove through that water, there were Toyota Quantum taxis stuck, engines gone, in that water, and other cars. This Audi was amazing. It pulled through with my top down, and I went through that flood. That is through the town. That whole street was flooded. I went from the one side to the other side, and I came out, and I've got to say that through mud, rain, dry, flood, this car has really, really shown me that it is one well-built piece of car. Very reliable. I do enjoy this car. I enjoy it a lot. I've been looking at the internet, and I've been seeing that the prices for the B7 RS4s are now starting to pick up. It's a car that's really been misunderstood by many people. And I think that the M-Power brand, especially the M3 and the C63, have overshadowed it. And this is one of those cars that you really need to drive to understand what's happening here. What is this product all about? And once you drive a B7 RS4, you will easily come to understand what the objective was when Audi was building this car. This is an all-rounder. This is the athlete that does 100-meter sprint, a 400-meter sprint, does a relay, does high jump, does javelin, right? Whereas your M3, your C63, they put it running just there in the 100-meter race, right? They're not the all-rounder athletes. This is the all-rounder champion, okay? So when you want a car that's as reliable as it gets, and look, long-terming an M3, long-terming a C63, that ownership is going to cost you just as much as this. It's not going to be far from this. You're going to run into the same kind of numbers, right? And especially if you do it at a dealership, okay? So cost is gonna come out about the same. But the experience, I can tell you the experience, this car is something else, right? I'm not even gonna go and say, oh, the C63 is better than this is better than the M3. No, I'm talking about the full package. The full package. This by far for me is the weapon of choice. If you want a long-term vehicle that you can drive and you know that under any condition, it's going to be there for you, this is the car, right? You know very well. You go into twisted roads and it's raining and it's wet. This is the car. You go into twisted roads, sharp curves, ups, downs, and you know, demanding road. This is the car. The other two are going to be tail happy, okay? And if you want to do quarter miles all day, sure. You want to drive cross country? Here you go. This is the car for you. So my long-term ownership of a B7 RS4 has left me in awe. Every single time I drive this car, it surprises me. I can drive it slow. I can drive it fast. It allows me. It never dictates for me how it wants to be driven. It allows me to dictate how I want to drive it. The quattro system is it's phenomenal. How it throws its power back and forth, it's just unbelievable. I've never actually, ever, since I've driven this car, no matter how hard I've put my foot down, this car has never slipped before. It has never ever slipped before. I don't even know if this car has got the anti-skid button that flashes on your windscreen when you lose traction. The traction control button. Because I've never seen it flash. Not on this car. Okay? But then let's go again to the elephant in the room when it comes to the B7 RS4. Right? Your display in your cluster. It's always got something there, man. You know? If it's not the tire warning light, which you can never switch off, you know, it's your ASP light, which comes on, and apparently that light is telling you that the intake flaps are not opening 100%. Apparently, there's a bolt there which starts going faulty, and if it at some point it can fall out and get sucked into your engine, and that's engine gone. All right. The cost of replacing that intake, it's ridiculous, man. It's so expensive, right? So from time and time again, when I'm hitting the car hard and I'm really driving it, the light does come on. Okay, it does come on, and yeah, it's one of those things you need to live with. Okay, and that needs to be sorted out. Instead of actually buying a new intake manifold, when you have this problem, I think it's even better just to bolt on the supercharger. But that itself is not cheap. And in South Africa, I don't know who would do that for you. And I've looked at the price. When you convert it into rands, boom, it's crazy. It's crazy money. But if you want to make that kind of investment, you can. But I think that is better for a sedan and not a convertible, purely because of the handling. The handling here is fantastic. It's great. It's unbelievable. For me, when it comes to a convertible, the short wheelbase, very few performance convertibles can match this car in handling. And the shudder, the scuttle that you get. I mean, CLK scuttles a lot. AMG, right? It's a longer car. This is very, very well balanced. You don't get a big shudder on this car. As a matter of fact, you hardly have a shudder unless you really hit uneven roads. And even so, it handles it very well. So yeah, I could go on and on about my experience in this car and the places I've been to in this car. I really, really enjoy this car, and I think that now that the prices are starting to come up, people are starting to understand the RS4, the B7 RS4, and you don't see many convertibles in South Africa. So whenever people see this car and it's a convertible, it's always, oh, I've never seen a convertible. I never knew there was a convertible. So in South Africa, you don't see the convertible, you don't see the station wagon, right? You just don't see them. They're very, very scarce. Once in a while, you'll see a sedan. They're here, they're out there. My neighbor in Tanto Motlana's got a B7 RS4 sedan. He actually bought it from you, Sprint Blue. He still got it. He's 2 houses from you over here. And I think people now get this car, and they want to interact with it. And the few that I'm seeing now on the internet, I must say that values have gone up. From what I paid for mine, from what I'm seeing their worth now. I keep looking every couple of months. Now they're really, really, really becoming worth something.